We all are living in a very fast, the modern world is very, very fast, and it is very much achievement driven, right? So this world is very fast and it is very much achievement driven. And if you see, our day starts with alarms, with notifications, with missed calls, messages, many things, correct? And what happens is basically these all pull our minds to multiple mental battles, even before we start our day, correct? Our basic routines, forget about the day. Before we start the basic routines, the pulls that we get into different things, alarms to notifications to, bothering about what calls I missed or checking the missed calls. And also the wheel of our life has gone more digital, isn't it? Everything now flows through a smartphone for all of us. Smartphone is a part and parcel of our life. And if you see in the olden days, you might have seen the village square where people used to gather and discuss things. So now WhatsApp has become the village square, the new village square. Or we can say WhatsApp has become the new post office because messaging happens there, message receiving, message posting, right? Even the smartphone and WhatsApp has become the lifeline for all of us. And for the older generation, one thing we have to appreciate is that they started using these technologies at a very good pace. So now, for the older generation, these digital technologies are not just a convenience. It has become a compulsion for them. So when I say compulsion, it has become an addiction, or it has become a bondage also. See, technically, the technology or the products promised freedom, right? For example, when smartphone was created, or when a phone was created without a single button, what was the thoughts behind the design? It's all about bringing freedom, bringing convenience. But now what is happening is these technologies or these products are becoming not only a convenience, it has become a compulsion, and it has become a bondage also. The unseen consequence. That's what we all do, because the morning when we get up, what is that we first do? Take the smartphone and see what are those messages which I missed while I was sleeping. The fear of missing out. This is very much happening. Though this is a digital joke, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out is basically the worries behind what we missed out or what we would miss. This is a kind of an agarma, this is a kind of an exhaustion that is which is happening within all of us without doing any action. So a villager asked a sage, a sannyasi, Swami, why am I more unhappy these days, more unhappy these days? So the Swami replied, earlier you compared yourself with your neighbor only, one or two neighbors maximum. Now your problem is basically you are comparing yourself with everybody in this planet, because you are in the social media world, you are seeing reels and reels and messages and posts of others, and you are trying to compare yourself with others. So your reason of more unhappiness is basically now your comparison started moving away from one or two persons to many. So your mind is overstimulated. So the sage says, you don't compare and contrast yourself, because that is why your mind is getting tired. And the mind is getting tired without doing any physical activities. Am I right? Any physical activities involved in this? No. You are comparing, contrasting, thinking, and creating or further creating more thoughts. So, mind is overstimulated without doing any physical exercise. Mind is becoming tired, and mind is scattered. Mind is becoming weak, and mind is now undergoing a state of relative deprivation, because this comparisons ultimately will bring a feeling that I'm nowhere. That comparison anxiety and relative deprivation will bring a kind of scattered state in the mind. That is what is happening, right? When we measure ourselves using other people's achievement, because that is the scale that we are using. So in one way we can say the element of peace is now not within you, it is now outsourced to others. The element of peace, the element of shanti, the element of happiness is now in the hands of others. We all are losing the autonomy. We are always busy. We are busy with that. We are busy with our ego. We are busy with the anxiety. We are busy with the fatigue that is caused by the anxiety and ego. And that fatigue is very, very heavy. Without doing anything, that fatigue is carried by everybody. This modern generation, due to the influence of comparison, contrasting, digital media influences, the distractions that we get in this digital world. Why am I saying this? Is basically the inner freedom. This is the fundamental source of happiness. The inner freedom is something that we all need. That inner freedom is now within the hands of others. That is where Bhagavad Gita as a Shastram prescribes karma yogam to bring inner freedom, the middle of the speed, not too low, not too high. Fast life, in this fast life, karma yogam says a detached mind will bring freedom. Whereas now the problem is basically the attached mind with this fast life is creating burnouts in all of us. And we need to understand much of our busyness in life is it due to the magnitude or quantum of the work that we are doing? Please tell me. Much of our business is mainly due to the distractions and the thoughts that we are creating, which are most of them are meaningless. Most of them are not producing any meaningful outcomes. And when we take part in different things, when we switch the task, because this is the peculiarity of the digital world, we switch our task from one to another, and what happens is basically our mind stays behind the task which we have undertaken. And most of the times these tasks, the previous tasks, are not settled. So what happens is basically our mind stays behind like an unsettled or an unpaid bill. In the context of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, such people are called as Asakta Chitta. Asakta Chitta. The people who are having scatteredness and attached to everything in life. This attention residue, because when we switch from one task to another, what happens is mind still associates with the previous task. This becomes an invisible tax or an invisible debt. This invisible debt is creating what? Creating a loss of productivity and a peace. This invisible debt, the attention residue, is creating an invisible debt or a tax that is basically eroding our productivity and peace. That's what Bhagavan says in the Gita. You aim for a wholehearted action by surrendering to me, to by giving or by offering it to me. You have a wholehearted action, not multiple actions in one go, not too many things. Now our problem is basically a lot amount of stress we are generating through different reasons, and the new term is called as the meta stress. What is meta stress? Meta stress is something like you are getting stressed about being stressed. This is also quite a familiar term in the medical field. Meta stress, the stress about being stressed. So that is where the simple karma yoga prescribed by Bhagavan Krishna in the context of Bhagavad Gita, wholehearted action, doing karma as a karma yoga with humility. You focus on one action with the completion. Don't allow any unsettled action to happen, so that what happens is basically the attention residue will be there, the invisible debt or tax that mind carries ultimately, which will affect the productivity and peace. So you dedicate the action to me, take up one action with humility, and think about the completion without a fragmented mind. Offer it to me. This is what Bhagavan says in the Karma Yoga, right? So now what is happening is basically our attention span is getting reduced. Who is able to read 2 or 3 pages of a book? Who is able to listen to 1 hour lecture? So our attention span is becoming reduced. So does that mean we are losing that capability? No, our attention is not getting reduced, but our attention is getting hijacked. Attention is getting hijacked due to this distraction. That is the only problem. So here Bhagavan again says, you allow the mind to enter the yajna bhava. Offer your mind, you dedicate your mind, because don't allow the mind to think about the end results. You dedicate that karmam to me. In the modern world, we can say the simplest yajna that we all can do is basically give the full attention to just one action. This is a very practical thing. Just dedicate executing one action without having any distraction. And not only that, don't allow your mind to go through the phone messages, etc., without checking the phone throughout. That is where the japa sadhanas play a lot of roles. What is jabam? Jabam is basically what? Jabam is all about chanting the mantra, anchoring the attention around a simple mantra, or jabam around the Sahasra Nama, chanting the thousand names of the Lord without allowing the mind to go anywhere. Just understand the mantram, just know the meaning of the mantra, anchor the attention to the sound of the mantra with the clarity of the mantra. What the sound is, what this mantra is about. So that the mind will not go around. Anchoring the attention through japa. This is one of the easiest way to gain attention span. Our attention span gets strengthened when we do the japa. So one of the shishya of a guru complained to the guru. Guru, my mind is wandering when I do the japa. So the shishya is very honest. That's why I'm openly saying that my mind is not sticking at the core. It's wandering. So now the guru says, "Ha, good. It is really good because it is a positive note that you are noticing that your mind is wandering. Earlier, it was wandering without your permission. Now you are aware of that. So with your permission only, it is wandering. So now what you need to do? You need to be more aware because that awareness has come. That awareness itself is a progress. Correct. See, many of us don't know that also, right? Our mind is wandering. Sometimes we will try to do or the chanting of Sahasranamam, and if you know by heart, you will finish it in say 15 minutes, Vishnu Sahasranam, but the mind will be going to California or some other places. This becomes a very mechanical job. And then you may be thinking, oh, very fast I finished. I'm not saying that people who are listening here, they all are good. So then we realize that, oh, in such a short span of time, I finished it. And second stage is basically you are aware of that the mind is wandering, mind is going somewhere. The first step is you don't even know. So Jabam trains our mind to come back. And Dhyanam trains the mind to stay at the core. Japa Dhyanam are very important in this modern world. So Karma Yoga is an antidote, is a medicine to the result anxiety. Now Bhagavan Krishna asks us to work without carrying the future on our shoulders. When I say carrying without carrying the future, without bothering much about the end results. Focus your entire energy on the actions. What is there in front of you? Are the results or action? Actions are there in front of us. Results are not there in front of us. So focus your entire energy on the action in front of us, and you release the grip on the outcomes or results. Don't bother. There is no point in worry. That's what Bhagavan says in the Sankhya Yogam 47th slogam, Karmanyevadhigaraste ma bhaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturбhu ma de sangostu akarmani. You do the work, you do the dharma with excellence, not with anxiety. Anxiety is all about the end results. Don't operate yourself with the the anxiety on the end results. You operate with excellence on the actions that you can do in front of you. So, what happens when you focus on the actions, you focus on the process, your mind will not bother much about the attachment. And when the mind is free from the attachment, what happens is basically our attention will improve. And when we are in the present, the capability to execute the skill will deepen. And by inherent nature, you are happy because you are not preoccupied with anything. You are now present, you are now staying in the present. What happens is basically that joy comes from within. So our attention improves, the capability to use the skill in a good way will also deepen, and the inherent optimism and joy will also come. This is the logic. And in a contemporary perspective, the karma yoga insists us to work deeply. You work sincerely. This is how we should take. And you release the rest. Don't too much think about what will happen, etc. Right? Work deeply, work sincerely, and just release the rest. Do the actions as just a passion. So what happens is basically when we do this, when we are not preoccupied with the results, that selfless action will come. That's why Bhagavan says, you remember about me. You offer this for a higher purpose. When you are selflessly acting, when you are thinking about a higher purpose, what happens is basically the mind by nature will get purified. By doing that work, the same mind will get purified. This is the transformation that Karma Yoga is bringing. Transformation is what? Transformation is not just, or it is not in changing our profession or lifestyle. No. Transformation lies in changing the inner motive. That is it. The same work you are doing, with the same skills you are doing. But what transformation is happening is basically changing the inner motive. That is what is. And excellence, when we say karma yogam, karma as a karma yogam, excellence in doing the action without giving the self, without giving the importance to the ego. When I say self importance is not there, it means you are not giving much weightage to the ego. Excellence without ego. So then, is it logical that the purification of the mind will happen? It has to happen. It has to happen in our day to day life. That's what Bhagavan is insisting, Arjuna. You execute the yuddham, not by running away from this war field, not going to forest. Bhagavan is giving the same advice to all of us. The purification of the mind should happen in all of us by executing the day to day activities, not by going away from the home, not by going to forest or running away from the family or running away from your responsibilities. Your daily life, whatever profession you are doing, your daily life, your daily endeavors must be a lab for the inner growth. Whether you do cooking, whether you do catering, whether you do teaching, whether you do the profession of a doctor or an engineer or a programmer or a parent or managing director of a company or doing the service, whatever is it. Daily life must be the avenue for the inner growth. Daily life should be the tool for the chitta shuddhi, purification of the mind. So when actions are done without bothering about the results, with a deep surrender, with a high focus on execution, without thinking anything about the selfish desires, that actions will get purify your mind. That action gets purified by the selflessness. So that nature of the execution will no longer exhaust your mind. It steadies the mind. It reduces the ego in your mind. Such a state we can call as a flow, FLOW. Flow meaning what? Flow is a kind of a state where we are completely absorbed. We are completely absorbed in the task. We are completely absorbed in the process. Rather than thinking about what will I get, what is the benefit that I will get. Just immersed in that process, not on the outcome. This is the state of flow. This is the state of karma yoga. Outcomes are not driving you. The mind cannot get disturbed by the outcomes. And whether the outcomes are good or bad, the mind is not at all bothered. That's what Bhagavan says in the second chapter, 50th verse. Buddhiyukto jahadiha ubhe sugrita dushkrite tasmat yogaya ujjasva yoga karma sukaushala. Skillfulness in doing the action. Skillfulness in acting in the life without having fear. Excellence in doing the actions that will improve the focus. Excellence in not worrying about the results. Excellence in not gathering the stains of the outcomes. See, if you see in practice, in our relationships, why the relationships break? What would be the reason, or what could be the reasons of relationship failures?
Too much of expectations.
Too much of expectation, absolutely. It is not something like we can say there is a lack of love. No, love would be there, but the problem is the expectations are the problem. I did this for you. I mean, anybody in the world out of love will do the action for the near and dear, correct? But the problem is the expectation is a problem. I did this for you and you should fill in the blanks. You should do this in return, or I expect this kind of things from you, or I care you much or more, so you owe me to do dash 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 dash. So love is not a problem, expectation is a problem. Acting without expectation, that is where karma yogam comes as a major cornerstone here. Acting without expectation will strengthen the relationship. And when we say acting without expectation, the attitude should be for the well-being of others without demanding anything, without demanding any emotional returns. So when we act without expectation, what will have? Our compassion will become deepen, empathy will mature, our interactions will become very lighter. That's what Bhagavan again says in the third chapter. You convert your life as a yajnam, because the life is all interconnected. Your journey, your life in this world is an interconnected system of giving. It is a cosmic system. It is of a mutual nourishment. You should aim for the mutual nourishment without any expectation. You give more. And again, Bhagavan says, you are a thief if you are having the attitude of only exploitation. And again, the suffering is due to that exploitation, because suffering will come in life when we extract without replenishing. So Bhagavan says, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam, Samatvam Yoga Uchade. Again, two, three things are there. The real balance or the real skill in life is basically not accumulating the likes and dislikes, not creating an imbalance in life, creating an inner balance. These are the cornerstones of Karma Yoga. And what happens is basically your balance sheet should be clean also. Every unresolved experience, what happens is basically, as I mentioned before, the residue that we carry in our mind due to unsettled actions, what happens is basically the unresolved experience leave a residue. Meaning, pleasant things will create a craving, will create a ragam. Unpleasant things will create a resistance or a dvesham. And what happens is basically over a period of time, these residues will solidify, will get strengthened, will become habits, will become reactions, and will become our own identities. So get rid of this, ensure that this skillfulness is very much needed when we do the actions, so that when we take care of this also, the mind will ensure the purity when we don't accumulate the stains of the actions, ragadvesha kartrutva bhoktrutva. Not only that, the equanimity, when I say equanimity, preventing the emotional accumulation. Equanimity, in another way, we can say experiencing fully without reacting, responding wisely. And also, equanimity, in another way, in a simpler way, we can define, is also a let go attitude. Not too much worried about, or not too much clinging about what happened, etc. Let go attitude is also an equanimity. And when we offer the actions without expectation, what happens? The actions will just dissolve, the actions will just become, or the actions will be the sake of doing the action and without creating the doership and enjoyership. And the actions are mentally dedicated to what? Dedicated to a higher power. This is the logic. Actions dedicated to a higher power without expectations, without accumulating the stains, with the equanimity, with the knowledge of the self, who am I, what is the purpose, why am I doing this, adhering to the dharma, and also thinking about the welfare of a whole, the ego will lose the ownership. The efforts will belong to us, because Bhagavan says karmanya karmani eva adhikare. You have the ownership or right to do the efforts, and you leave the outcomes to me. That belongs to me. The outcome belongs to the larger order, so called as Ishwaran or universe or the nature. It means what? You act very lightly, don't worry. You just, give these things to me. You put your efforts. Act diligently. You act sincerely. And you just mentally hand over those results to me. I will take care of them. Anxiety should not be there for even the work. Work you should execute. Anxiety should not be there for your outcomes. See, our problem is basically anxiety is not only about the outcomes. Anxiety is also there for the appreciation. Whether I will get appreciation or not. Whether somebody will take the appreciation or not. Whether somebody will get recognized. Some wrong person will get recognized or not. These are some of our common problems of anxiety. Or will I have a full control over the circumstances when the results come? Or even the fear of judgment, whether the people in the company will acknowledge me or acknowledge my efforts, or somebody else will get this credit. These all are the anxieties that we have beyond the end result that we are sure about. So that is where Bhagavan here says, you have the psychological freedom through what? Through let go of those results, let go of those anxiety, non-attachment, right? And it doesn't mean that non-attachment is something like a compromise. Non-attachment is basically the source of energy. It liberates energy. It increases the motivation and it liberates energy. And non-attachment is also an avenue for us to discover our true self. Otherwise, also, as in Chadusloki Bhagavatam, Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Yatsat Sarvatra Sarvada. That truth is not a part of the body, not a part or a product of the body, mind, intellect, senses. That truth is deeper in you, and you are that truth. You are not this body, you are not the mind, you are not any of those things, you are not the result that you are anticipating out of your actions. You are the true self. You are beyond the body, you are beyond the mind, intellect, sense, ego, everything. So this knowledge will bring purification. This knowledge of the self will bring purification. This knowledge of the self will bring the inner fulfillment. So with this knowledge, the mind becomes more pure. With this knowledge, the false identities will go. With this knowledge, the fulfillment will start coming. And the fulfillment is all about what? The fulfillment is not something that you depend on the external gains. Fulfillment is all about the true self, and that true self is beyond everything. With this knowledge, with these capabilities, including non-attachment, equanimity, the ego will dissolve. The emotional residues will not get accumulated. Non-attachment is vairagyam, that will boost motivation, that will release energy, that will release the chitta shuddhi, that will create the chitta shuddhi. What happens, you might have seen when you have a bowl with muddy water and trying to see the reflection of the sun. If the water is muddy, will you be able to see the reflection of the sun clearly? No. And what happens when the mud gets settled? The reflection is clear. Similarly, Chitta Shuddhi is basically allowing the mind to settle the mud. So when the Chitta Shuddhi happens, the fulfillment that we are looking from the outside world will shift within. That is the beauty of knowing the self and doing the actions selflessly. The mind becomes purer, the mind becomes cleaner, the mind becomes the element for knowing this truth. All the false identifications will drop away. The fulfillment then flows from within, from the self. The work will become joyful. That's what Bhagavan says. And that is how the wise people lived in this world. Verse number 20 of Karma Yogam. Karmaneva hi samsiddhi astita janagadaya लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धि आस्तिदा जनक आदयः लोकसङ्ग्रहम् अव एपि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुम् अर्हसि. So the example of Janagadi, the Janaka Maharaja and the others, in fact, through actions, they gained liberation. And also by doing the actions for the sake of well-being of the world, they become free. And therefore, Arjuna, you should also perform actions and follow the path of the wise people like Janaka Adaya. Janaka is a Rajarshi, the father of Sita Devi, an emperor. Janaka was called as Videha, the one who is bodiless, with a body. Meaning what? The one who is a Jivan Mukta, the one who with the body acting as a bodiless, meaning in this state as a Jivan Mukta. And please be mindful, Janaka was not a monk, Rajarshi, Rishi, Raja plus Rishi, or a ruler. Let's use ruler, emperor, a very busy ruler, and at the same time a family man, and ever remained in this knowledge, ever remained in the Brahmajnanam. And in Ramayana, Bhagavan Rama does the Visheshanam to Sita Devi as Janaka Atmaja, one who is born from the self-knowledge of the father Janaka. And Janaka, in the context of the Sammadam that Sri Shuga Maharshi and Veda Vyasa, sage Vyasa, in the context of the conversation that they have, where Vyasa Bhagavan sends Sri Shuga Maharshi to Janaka, to ruler Janaka, King Janaka, for confirmation of Sri Shuga Brahmarshi's realization. And Shuga needed an authentic approval or a confirmation from a Brahmanist. That's where Vyasa Bhagavan sends Sri Shuga to Janaka Maharaja. And here, that's where Bhagavan Krishna also says, Janagadi, like him, obtained the state of freedom by doing the karma alone. Through the karma yogam, they attain the highest state. They attain the actions as yoga. They gain the purity of the mind. They attain the realization. Karma yogam purified their mind, released their bondage of karma. And every action as a ruler ultimately pointed to the state of realization. And when Bhagavan Krishna says Janaka Adaya, Janaka Maharaja plus others, Janagan to Ambarikshan, to Rishabha Yogishwaran, they did not run away from their life. They did not renounce their prarabdham of kingship. They did the ruling plus they inculcated the knowledge of the Brahmajnanam in them. They use Karma Yoga as a way of purification and realizing the wisdom. That's what they did, right? They were the active ones. They were the active ones who got established in the self. This is the secret of a Jivan Mukta. That's what I said. Videha, right? Gained, they gained they gained this freedom with this body without giving up the actions, right? You all know that. I mean, as a ruler, as a king, you have lot of I mean, a king has got lot of responsibility and cannot run away. And with that responsibility, Janaga and others achieved the perfection or samsiddhi even in the middle of the actions. And they did the actions as Loka Sangraham for the welfare of the world. And Loka Sangraham is for the welfare of the world and the stability of the human being or human society. So here, Shuga Maharshi asked Janaka in his palace, how could be a liberated sage while ruling a busy kingdom? And here Janaka Maharaja decides not to give a big lecture. Thought of giving an experiment to Sri Shuga Brahmarshi. Gave the Sri Shuga a lit oil lamp and asked to walk through the palace with this lamp. Move every nook and corner of this palace, every part, every hall, every corridor. But be careful. Don't allow the lamp to flicker. So here, Shuga starts the journey inside the palace with total concentration on the flame. And Shuga was very much determined that nothing should affect my concentration. Will should not flicker even once. And Shuga Maharshi comes back to Janaka Maharaja without noticing anything. He did not notice what musicians are doing, what ministers are doing, what dancers are doing, what are they performing, or even not looking into the architecture of the palace, or not bothering about the fragrance of food. I mean, Shuga would have gone to the mess area also, or even not bothered about the jewels, the lights, or whatever is it. So now, when Shuga Maharshi returns, Janaka asks a question: what did you see in this palace? Shuga Brahmajnani says, I did not see anything, nothing, Lord. I just saw the flame alone. Now Janaka asks, okay, no problem, no worries, just go again. Enjoy the complete palace. Second time, Shuga goes to the every part of the palace, and his concentration got lost in what? Concentration got lost in the lamp. The curiosity arose, started noticing the architecture, artwork, firework, fragrance, vastness of the palace, what people are doing, what activities they are involved in. Now Shuga returns with a smile, and Janaga now asks, what did you see? Shuga Maharshi says, everything, the whole palace. So now Janaka Maharaja says, okay. In this parts, the second time when you went around, complete awareness of what's happening, complete awareness of the world, but you forgot the lamp. What happened to the lamp? Oh Lord, I did not bother. You did not even notice that lamp is not lit, burning. Huh? So now again, Janaka gives the lamp once again. Now you walk through the palace, hold the flame steady, and be fully aware of everything around you. So Shuga Maharshi walks around with a still mind, steady hand, and an open awareness. This time he saw the palace clearly but never lost the focus on the flame. Now Shuga returns with a calm and bright face. Janaka asks, what did you see? Yeah, I saw everything. This is the highest state. This is the highest state that one should experience. You live in the world with complete awareness without losing the inner flame. And now Shuga bows or Janaka Maharaja. I understood that. I understood that what enlightenment is not withdrawal from the life. Enlightenment is not withdrawal into one pointedness or nor absorption in the world. It is the perfect balance where the mind is anchored within while engaging in the things outside. So now this is a very practical wisdom we all should understand or gain. We also tend to get absorbed in the outside world or outer world and miss the inner flame. The real mastery is what? Real mastery is basically holding the inner lamp, holding the inner truth, holding the inner reality while walking through different aspects of our life, be it work, be it social life, be it whatever you do in life. The exclusive focus on the inner flame and dealing things in this world, then we will not get absorbed completely in the world. Never forget this inner flame. Balance it. Balance the awareness and the engagement in this world with complete awareness. Never losing the inner lamp of self knowledge. So, with this, your activity will become sacred. Your activity will become meaningful. This is the Karma Yogam that Bhagavan Krishna prescribes. And that is what the great people performed also. Verse number 21. Yadyadacharadi shrestha tat tadevetaro jana sayat pramanam kurute logastadanu vartate. Yadyadacharadi shrestha tat tadevetaro jana sayat pramanam kurude logastadanu vartate. So here, whatever a great person does in life, others follow their standards. These great people set or they demonstrate the standard out of their deeds to the world. So here the term Sreshta, Yada Acharati Sreshta, whatsoever this wise person or important person does, Tad Eva Idarajana. That alone, the other people around that person will imbibe when Sayat Pramanam Kurude, when that person sets proper actions, Logaha Tata Anuvartade, the word of people will follow that. So here Sreshta can be in any realm, because when we think about the from a material point of view, we live in a society. There will be a lot of important people or members of that society, right? People can be, like a king or a prince or a minister or a rishi or an officer or a public figure, Forget about all those things. A father who is a, uh, role model for the children, or the mother at home. So the Shrestha, the one who is doing the Acharana, that person, how he lives, he or she lives, how she or he acts in this world, in this life. For a variety of situations encountered in a day to day life, the that person's deeds are looked up or set, that is kept as a standard for others to mimic. Here we need to understand that when the Shrestha word is used, the one who uses Vedam as the Pramana, Vedanta Jnanam as the Pramana, one who takes that as a Pramana and live in this world, and does the role modeling through that Veda Jnanam, that person will be followed by others. That person will be setting the standards. We say the Vaidika Pramanam. Vaidika Pramanam meaning the Pravarti Nivarti combination. A Grahasthasrami, when I say Grahasthasrami, the Brahmajnana was the Pramana. The one who has reformed himself or herself with this self knowledge, when I say self knowledge, Veda was the Pramanam, is able to influence others, is able to reform others, is able to make an impact in others, and people will follow their instructions, people will follow their examples, people will not listen to them, probably, right? People may not listen to their 2 hours of lectures, people but follow their instructions, will follow their examples, will follow their behavioral leadership. It may not be a positional leadership, etc., but they will try to imbibe those good values of those people who takes Vedam as the Pramanam. Shrestha meaning here people who lives with the Veda Pramanam. Such people will set the relevant standards, they will be copied, they will be looked upon as the role models. That is where, in the previous verse, we have seen Janaga's case as a Rajarshi, Raja and the Rishi. So, in the modern world, we should also set this as an example, as a curious learner, and at the same time, the attributes of a Rishi. Curious learner in the sense dealing wisely in this world with this Vedanta Jnanam as the Pramana. That's what Bhagavan insists in Karma Yoga. With the Brahma Jnanam, with the Pravarti, Nivarti path, we should gain this knowledge. With that knowledge, we should be able to work in this world, we should be able to influence and reform others. Yad Yadacharati Shrestha Tattadevetaro Jana Sayat Pramanam Kurute Logastadanuvartade. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
हरि ओम।